NeonicVoid Productions presents.
Hi, welcome to Book Watchers, where we're just a couple of faggots. I am your host. And today I am obviously joined with the biggest, tallest, giant fag. I don't know what, like, wait, people don't like the word fag. I don't, you know. Hi, this is Jacob's here too. So
Yeah.
if y'all
Of course
don't
I'm
like the
here.
word fag, I'm sorry, but I don't care about the connotation with that word. It's take back the word. Take it back. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. There was a point where I didn't like when people called me it, just because like that was when I was still in the closet, and I just
Yeah.
didn't really want people to like have put that kind of attention on me. But now I don't care, because like for me I just think like, okay, it still kind of is a word of hate, but at the same time I'm like, if I'm ever called a fag, because I was called a fag in like a very bigoted way at one point. um I don't even let it bother me anymore. I just look back. I look him in the eye. I'm like, yeah, and you got a problem with that?
Exactly. I
You
won't
know, like
call
especially
someone
like
a fag that's not okay with it, but like in my friend group, most of my friends don't give a shit. So we just call each other fags left and right.
yeah.
But
The only people I usually call fags are, well, you and Tiff sometimes, and of course Dylan, because you got to put Dylan in his place.
oh, damn.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, we call him a brat.
Oh, the brat.
I'm kidding. We
He's a
should probably
brat.
cut that out if he
Yeah, I'll cut that out.
he's gonna be so mad.
He's a brat.
We should cut that out.
Could you try again?
Siri, shut the fuck up. Sorry.
There's like, you're talking
Sorry,
shit.
my
What?
Siri popped up. She's like, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I'm like, bitch.
Y'all talking shit?
You talking shit too?
Talk shit, get hit. Hi, welcome, book watchers. You know the drill. Link down below. We'll give all links to other podcast shows and shit. The Pit Pop shebang. You know the deal. Yeah, YouTube channel will be down there too.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Tell tell a friend. Yeah, cool.
Tell your whole family, and if you come from a very conservative family, especially tell them, just so you can piss them off. And don't tell them that this is an LGBTQ plus type of podcast. Just
hell yeah.
Let them go in blind.
Hell yeah.
All right. I mean, they may like it at first, because I remember early on, we weren't really hella pushing the faggotry. Yeah, but now it's just shotgunned all over the place. It's on the walls. It's on the ceiling. Jesus. But anyway,
it's everywhere.
Yeah. But enough talking about the gay shit. Instead, let's talk about the gay shit.
I was about to say we're gonna be talking about gay shit today.
Because we're gonna be talking about even gayer shit. So, I'm sorry, I almost forgot what we were doing, because it's been like a couple. It's been like almost 2 weeks since we recorded our last episode. Our last episode, we recorded book 1 of Bear, Otter, and the Kid Chronicles. First book is of the same name. Now we're going to be reviewing the next book on the series, called Who We Are.
Yay!
So, just some just general facts about Who We Are. This book is the direct sequel of Bear, Otter, and the Kid. It takes place over a period of 6 months. after the last. So it starts pretty much where the last book left off. And then it takes place over a period of like about 6 months or so. There's a lot that happens in this book. We see more growth with the main characters, Derek McKenna, aka Bear, Oliver Thompson, aka Otter, and Tyson McKenna, aka the Kid, as well as their little close knit group of friends and family, who basically make up this whole little found family dynamic. Just like the first book, it is very wholesome. It deals with a lot of trauma. Just want to put this out there. There aren't any elements of, when I say trauma, it's just more like it's more directly concerned with issues of abandonment, anxiety, depression, and as well as resentment and bitterness as well. Because in this book, just so we can like just cut straight to the point, we're gonna go ahead. Let's go ahead and just get right into the story. So, where the last book left off, Bear and Otter reconnected. They had broken up for just a short period of time because Bear was threatened by his mom, the very woman who abandoned him in the first place. She had somehow found out about his relationship with Otter, and she threatened to take custody of the kid back if Bear didn't give in to her demands by breaking up with him, and by breaking up with Otter, and not having anything to do with any kind of gay romantic relationship ever again. And Bear, fearful of his little brother being taken away from him, especially by his mother, who was very neglectful and alcoholic, and who abandoned them, he acquiesced, and he ended up ending his relationship with Otter for a short period of time, before he finally and very dramatically got back together with Otter. They reconciled. He explained to Otter what happened. Otter was pissed, understandably, but he was actually, if Bear hadn't made the decision to get back together with Otter, Otter was actually prepared to fight for Bear. Like, oof, if only like the author wrote it to where like we see how Otter fights for Bear, I'm pretty sure this story would have been a lot juicier. But it turned out the events turned out the way they did, and now here we are. The last book ended with Bear and Otter moving in together. Otter actually bought a house for Bear, if you can believe that. And it was just it was just so sweet. And now we're book 2, Who We Are, picks up where that left off. Bear and the kid, with the help of their family, they completely move out of that shitty little apartment they've been living in most of their lives. They end up giving away all of their mother's belongings that she left behind to Goodwill, because over the past 3 years, all of her stuff had been left behind, had been locked away in her room. They hadn't gone in. They never once went in there for any reason, because there's just a lot of negative memories associated with that room. Too much association with their mom. Now that they're moving out and into a new house, they decide, all right, you're out. Toss that shit to the curb, and they move into their new house, which they so eloquently call the Green Monstrosity, because because the house is painted a horrendous shade of green. Like, I can't. I'm having a hard time imagining this color. But I'm pretty sure, like, from what I believe Ty describes it as, like some sort of like something like radioactive monster snot.
Ew.
But yeah, but oddly enough, despite the fact that they hate the color of the house, they never repaint it.
Huh.
Once they move in, they don't even bother repainting it. They just leave it like that, and it just kind of has its own charm. The color of the house gives it that sort of charm. The house represents a new beginning for this family, because it marks the start of Bear and Otter's full relationship together. They're no longer hiding their relationship from their friends and family. They're completely out about it. There was a moment where there's a moment in this book where Bear and Otter do have to tell the news to their to Otter's parents about the relationship. Because in the last book, Otter's parents were not really around. They were on this extended vacation, and now they had come back. And the thing about Otter's parents is that they're not bad people. However, they kind of got on my shit list for this scene, and I'm pretty sure any other person who read this book probably like doesn't really have that much of a good opinion about them, despite like later on how much character development they have later. So when Otter and Bear tell Otter's parents that they're in a relationship together, his parents don't really take it very well. While they accept it, the reaction is not what they would have expected. And Otter has already felt some resentment towards his parents, because when he came out originally, like I believe he came out like right when he graduated high school, pretty early on. His parents didn't really take it so well. It's not like they were being homophobic. It was just more of like uh, I don't want to say it's like concern, but it's just more of like they weren't exactly happy about it. And later on, they find out later that their parents' reaction is really from a negative experience, because Otter had an uncle who was gay, but unfortunately, he was a gay man in the 80s and the 90s during the AIDS epidemic. And unfortunately, his uncle contracted. Yeah, his uncle contracted AIDS and died due to complications from it. And his parents, the thing is that it was hard for them because, for starters, they didn't know his uncle was gay, and when they found out that he got AIDS, they were able to put two and two together. Like, oh shit! So you mean you were gay and you got sick from it? And like, I guess like for them, it was just their bad reaction was more of concern for Otter's safety, because I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people, the AIDS epidemic was really traumatizing because there's so many people getting it. It didn't just affect the gay community, but the thing is, unfortunately, the gay community was the one that was highlighted and targeted because of it. But they were like the central highlight of the AIDS epidemic. So, and it doesn't help that that AIDS is considered the gay virus too.
That's true.
Yeah, so that is the reasoning, and then later on, Bear and Otter were able to work it out with his parents, with Otter's parents, and reconcile. But it's not really, and it doesn't really cause any issues for them in the future. It's kind of hilarious how they came out to his parents, because the thing is, Bear is a stupidly lightweight when it comes to alcohol. You give him like one glass of wine, and suddenly he's like he can't. So Bear is neurotic. I think I've said that is very neurotic. I think I said that in the last episode.
I think
he gets pretty spazzy, and he has. Yeah, and he tends to get like his mind tends to, like, when he's panicking, his mind tends to go off on this whole tangent, and he begins to like have these weird fantasies of like completely unrealistic scenarios. I think those are called intrusive thoughts, and he has a hard time keeping those intrusive thoughts to himself. So he'll often like blurt out random things, and people look at him like, okay, in what scenario did this, like, so where did you get that from? Out of this whole thing that's upsetting you, how did you come to that conclusion? Like, but so basically, whenever Bear drinks, that dials up from 10 to 20. And so like since like he already had like a couple glasses of wine, and Otter was like encouraging him, like, "All right, babe, you ready? You ready to tell him?" Bear started freaking out, and he ended up like blurting out, like, not just like the fact that he and Otter are in a relationship to Otter's parents, but like the whole story, like from like what happened with the fact that technically Bear had an emotional affair with Otter while he was still with Anna, but also the fact that Anna and Creed are together, and that Bear and Otter are together, and then they broke up for a bit because Bear's mom came back and threatened him if he didn't break up with Otter, she'd take the kid, and then they got back together, and now they live together. And Otter bought the house for Bear, and now they're basically living their happily ever after. So it just all came spilling out in one long tangent, and it's hilarious. And this happens multiple times throughout this entire series. It's hysterical. In fact, like, there are several characters who are very much aware of what happens when Bear is drinking and he has tea to spill.
Ooh, loose lips.
So like, and it just slips out. Like, Ty has done this to him. The kid has done this to him, and not going to spoil it for you, but in the next book, a friend of the kids does this to him, and it's hilarious. But moving on from that, Bear is also beginning to go back to college because after his mom abandoned him and his brother, Bear had to quit school, had to give up his dream of going to college to become a writer to take care of his brother. But now that he and Otter are in a committed relationship together, Otter offered to support Bear while he's going back to school. In fact, Otter and all of Bear's friends, including Creed and Anna, basically had to pin Bear down and force him to sign up for school again. Like, you're not giving up, like, you're going back to school, and whether you like it or not. He's like, but no, I gotta take care of the kid. I'm like, and Otter's like, I'm here. I can help you take care of him, and I can help you pay for school. So you're going to school. End of discussion. So Bear's now Bear begins going to school, to his local community college to be for creative writing. And at the beginning of the book, it actually starts off with him reading some like terrible. At first, I thought this was like some sort of fan fiction, but it was an attempt at Bear's fantasy writing, and it was terrible. And both the kid and Otter tell him. So we do see a few times. So we do see a few scenes throughout the book where he goes to school, and Anna is also taking classes at the same school. So it's not like he's by himself, and he does. It's not like he doesn't know anybody there. Thing is that when he goes to his first class, he immediately meets this guy who takes an interest in Bear. And Bear is like super awkward and doesn't know how to tell this. It doesn't really know how to tell this guy. I have a boyfriend, so could you not flirt with me? And even like with Bear's gentle like admonishments, the guy's not taking the hint until Anna shows up and chases him away. Now this guy like kind of pops up. Shit, what was his name? I don't want to just be calling him this guy. Where's the table of contents? Let me go to that. Sorry. Bear goes to work.
No, you're fine.
Kid pleads his kid. Awkward dinner where Bear meets two very different people. Face reality. Okay, here. I think this is it. Start school. Fuck. Come on, where is a? See, I'll be totally honest with you. This character whose name I'm trying to look up, is so completely unimportant to me that I don't really care to remember his name.
Ooh, and ooh.
Because like he only appears in this book and like a couple times, and really, like his only. Let's see. His only real purpose in this story is to like just kind of throw a monkey wrench into Bear and Otter's relationship, because while they don't really have a fight over this guy, like Otter does find out, and Otter, while he's not an extremely jealous kind of character, he does get he does get overprotective of Bear, and they do have those moments where it's just like he does have this moment of unsurety where Otter's like, "Are you like? I mean, you don't have much experience with relationships, and with this side of you. How do I know you're not like? Are you ever going to want to like experiment with other people? Maybe figure out other relationships, see other people, want to see other people besides me?" And Bear has to reassure him that no, I don't really want to see other people, just you. And Otter pretty much tells him the same thing. Let's see. What is his name? Oh, that's his name, Isaiah. Huh. Fucking Isaiah.
Isaiah.
So, when Bear starts school, one of his first encounter, he has a bit of an encounter with this guy named Isaiah, who comes on very strong to him because he finds Bear very attractive, and Bear is barely able to shoo this guy away before Anna shows up and kicks him to the curb. And the thing is that it's not just Otter that showcases a little bit of jealousy when it comes to people like practically throwing themselves at Bear, because that does happen several times throughout the series. And it's kind of cute just seeing the two of them get jealous of each other. Just like, what, you like him? No. What, you like him? No. Like, it's kind of cute. I mean, some couples deal with it more, some couples don't, but it's just like it's not really a big issue for either Otter or Bear. Thing is, aside from Bear starting school again, this story is also focused on a decision that Bear has made besides going through with college, and that is finally legally getting full custody of Ty, his brother.
Yeah,
because when his mom just straight up dipped on him, she gave him something. She left papers for him to sign that gave him power of attorney, quote unquote, which was sketchy as fuck, and I don't think would actually have held up in court either way. I mean, it was enough to give Bear, at least allow Bear to make sure that Ty has everything he needs, like register him from school, take him to his doctor's appointments and dentists and whatever. But the thing is, it was not the actual legally binding thing that he needed to ensure that nobody can actually take Ty away from him. Right? It wasn't actual legal custody. And when his mom showed up in the last book and threatened to take Ty away, that was the final nail in the coffin. Like, for Bear, his mom is completely dead to him. Like, he does not want anything to do with her, and he doesn't want her to be able to come back into his life again and threaten to take the kid away. So, with Otter's help, they actually seek out an attorney, and this attorney, she's really great. She is actually a character whose name I should know because she's an amazing character. Let me see here. Her name is in like this literal exact. Like her name is actually in this one. Like in one of these two. I fucking know her name. Is it? Okay. I think her name is Georgia. Oh wait, no, that's Georgia is actually. Devin edit this part out, but Georgia is actually she is a agent for CPS. But she's on their side. So yeah, I'll explain it again. Just edit this part out. But so Georgia, so when they finally like make the petition for Bear to take full custody of the kid, part of the process is they need to be evaluated by CPS to make sure that they have a stable home. And Georgia is the character, is the person that they send to evaluate them, and she's not. And it's a scary. It is a little scary, not gonna lie, but she's actually very helpful, and she makes sure that Otter and Bear and the kid have everything they need. Let me see. Where Bear goes to war. Oh wait, never mind. The monstrosity. Uh-huh. Mm. Oh, okay, her name is Erica.
Got it, Erica.
So, yeah, like I was saying, they decide to get full custody of the kid. Well, Bear, because since he is the kid's direct relative, he's the one that will be taking full custody of him. They get an attorney. Her name is Erica. When they first meet her, they explain their situation to her. The whole his mom dipping, the power of attorney thing, and how she came back and threatened to take him back, even though she had been gone for 3 years without a word. And after hearing everything they had to say, Erica agrees to take their case, and she informs them that she has that she's very confident that they will win this case. That Bear will be awarded full custody of the kid because after explaining the circumstances, things are not going to work out in their mother's favor. Because one thing I didn't really talk about in the last book was that when Julie McKenna showed up and threatened to take the kid away from Bear, Bear tried to call her bluff, but she made up this whole spiel about how she could easily lie to the court and say, listen, like she could use her alcoholism and her substance abuse as, as a weapon against them, saying like, well, I left for my health to seek treatment, and basically play this whole sob story case, right? And people would be more willing to, and she implied that people would be more willing to take her side because who are they? And she basically just told him outright that people are more willing to believe a struggling single mom over a gay older brother. And ooh, I hate that bitch. And But the thing is that now that they spoke to an actual attorney who knows the law, knows how the court system works, after they explain their situation, Erica informs them like, yeah, no, that's not going to fly. Your mom does have substance abuse, so that does work against her. And depending on what we find on her, if she has no real like if there are no records of her seeking help for her substance abuse, it's not going to hold up in court. And also, this power of attorney thing, I'm not going to lie, is actually going to work against both you and your mom, against your mom more, but against you too, because thing is, this was not handled properly or legally. But given the circumstances of this is all basically going to go back on your mom. So even though the judge may be more or less inclined to admonish you for this, there's nothing she can do about it. There's nothing that judge can do about it. So what they can do is grant you temporary custody. And what they're going to do is, first of all, they got to make sure that you are a fit guardian for the kid. So CPS will be involved. They will be making regular checks, and they'll be making regular visits to your home to inspect it and make sure everything is working out. That it is a safe and nurturing environment for Tyson. And she won't. And she even told him, "I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna feel very invasive because they're going to be observing you in every facet of your life, just to ensure that you are providing a safe and nurturing environment for your brother." All right, it's gonna be tough, but from what I can tell, like after talking to you guys seem very well adjusted. You have a job. You're going to school there, so that actually works in your favor. And you also have a very great great and loving support system, because when Bear and Otter went to talk to the attorney, their entire extended family came with them. Creed, Anna, Mrs. Paquin, they all came to provide moral support, and it was a little hysterical, just the way just like they're trying to have a serious meeting with the attorney, but there's all this banter going on in the background. It's really funny. And she tells them that plays very well in their favor. And then she drops this. She also tells them that Ty will need to see a therapist, because he needs to be evaluated for any kind of long-standing mental health disabilities, just the standard things. Because usually, from what I understand, any kind of custody cases involving kids, the kids do have to go see a therapist, and the therapist needs to evaluate and make sure that the kid isn't suffering from any kind of abuse, trauma, or anything that relates back to the person trying to get the custody. But anything that goes back to the like a direct correlation to the person who's trying to get custody. So if you're trying to get custody of your kid and the kid is having severe depression and anxiety just because of you, there's a good chance that could work against you.
Yeah.
And especially in Bear's case, since he's still very young and he's trying to take care of his younger brother. All right, they got to make sure that he's more than capable of taking care of his younger brother, but they also need to make sure that the kid himself is thriving under his brother's guardianship. And then finally, the final bombshell that she drops on Bear, is that they will have to get a courier, and they need to serve Julie McKenna with custody papers. They need to subpoena her. So what's going to happen is either she fights it and they take her to court to fight for custody over Tyson, or she could go ahead and sign her rights away right then and there. And Bear was not thrilled about that, because he really does not want anything. He does not want to have any kind of confrontation with his mom. But after everything that she put him through and put Ty through, he's ready to fight for his brother. which I'm like, oh, good for you. I applaud you. Good for you. You know, it's an uncomfortable situation all around, but this is your brother, and you need to do this for your brother, because when Ty found out that his mom threatened Bear and forced Bear to leave Otter, that actually really negatively affected Ty, because Ty really looks up to Otter. Otter is not only like another older brother to him, but he's like a father figure to him, just like Bear. All right. So having Otter in his life is a very good influence. All right. It helps him with his anxiety and his panic disorder, and it also helps him with his other issues. All right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ty is a very well-adjusted young man, and he is very smart. Bear often refers to him as eco-terrorist in training because of how much he is, because of how much of a naturalist he is, as well as he often says that this kid will take over the world by the time he's 16, and the kid practically does. But so throughout the book, it does describe their struggles. It also describes their meetings with Georgia, the Child Protective Services agent that is sent to evaluate their home. While they're being evaluated by Georgia, they do meet a young. They do end up meeting a young boy that lives down the street from Otter and Bear. This boy's name is Dominic. Now I want to just like talk about Dominic for a second here, because he actually will become a very important figure in the kid's life in the future. So Dominic is about 14, 15 years old when he's first introduced into the story, and basically he's a very introverted young man, and well, like all introverts, he got adopted by a extremely extroverted person, and that extremely extroverted person happened to be Ty, the kid. So Ty, while playing outside of his house, he notices Dominic just wandering around and immediately befriends the kid. And now Ty considers this big 14-year-old kid as his new best friend, and it's very cute. Think a little bit about Dominic is that he's a very big kid. I'm not saying big as in like fat. It's not really described as whether he's like just a plump kid, but really he's described as being this big kid. Like he's big for his age, and he has dark hair, dark eyes, and he has a very low, kind of broken voice. Like when Bear first hears Dominic speak for the first time, it almost seems like Dominic has a very hard time talking and can't really raise his voice above a certain octave. Well, not an octave, I should say, but to a certain volume. And he could tell it looks like, and Bear could tell it looks like talking is kind of painful for him. And when he first, it's the same. He meets Dominic at the same time they have their first meeting with Georgia. And while Georgia is evaluating their house, she tells them about Dominic. So it turns out Dominic is a kid that Georgia had to remove from his home. The circumstances that Dominic was removed from his home was actually very extreme, simply because his father was extremely abusive to both him and his mother. He would physically beat both him and his mom. And it got so bad that at one point his father just snapped and ended up beating his mom to death. Now, in that scenario, I'm sorry, guys. Total disclaimer: there is some elements of physical abuse. We don't actually see it; it's just told secondhand from a secondhand account from Georgia, the CPS agent, just providing backstory for this new character, Dominic. All right, so just be warned; it is kind of graphic. The story behind Dominic is a little graphic, and it's very tragic, but it's necessary for the story as well as for the development of his character in the future. All right, so just be warned. So Dominic's dad brutally murdered his mom by beating her to death. While his father was assaulting his mom, Dominic who was about 9 years old at the time, 8 or 9 years old at the time, tried to defend his mom. And the only way he could do that was he got a pair of scissors and he stabbed his dad several times. His dad did not die, but it did manage to get his dad. It did manage to stop his dad from completely beating his mom to a pulp. Unfortunately, the damage was done, and his mom did pass that night. However, the entire experience was extremely traumatizing for Dominic. He later described Dominic would later describe the what happened, and but I'll talk about that later because he doesn't talk about that in this. He doesn't actually reveal that in this book. But Georgia just says that when she was called to Dominic's case, she arrived at the hospital. She was already informed about what his father did and what happened to Dominic's mother. But when she got to the hospital, all she could hear was this child screaming his head off. The poor kid had been screaming for several days straight. He would not stop no matter what what anybody did. And at one point, it just seemed like something in Dominic's voice broke, and he went completely silent. So Dominic had been so traumatized by this event that he screamed himself so bad that he actually ruptured his vocal cords. So while Dominic can speak, his voice is very broken and gravelly, and it's actually kind of painful for him. I mean, later on, as his character grows and develops more, talking becomes easier for him because he starts coming out of his shell and talks more, especially to Tyson. And but his voice is Devin, you know how Matt's voice is kind of whispery because of his own thing?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but it's more like in a more severe case because Dominic has more severe damage to his vocal cords. And so yeah, aside from that little segue about Dominic, Dominic does become Tyson's best friend and somebody that he turns to and comes to rely on later in the future. Hint, hint. But we will talk about that in the next book. Anyway, back to the overall story. We do have several different. There are several like. Excuse me. Let me pause. Let me reorganize my thoughts / notes. Okay. So
yeah,
they do have several court. They do have several court hearings. Tyson does speak to the judge a few times to plead his case of being wanting to stay with his family. And then I'm sorry, not Tyson. Bear pleads his case about wanting to take custody of Ty, and Ty does see a therapist. This therapist is kind of funny. He's very eccentric, and now that is another name I need to look up. Okay, so while I look up this guy's name, Tyson, I just want to say, hates the idea of seeing so Ty hates the idea of seeing a therapist, and he's very much against seeing a therapist, but for the sake of the custody battle, he does agree to go see the therapist. Jesus, what is his name?
Where is his name, Jacob God?
Hold on. I read this on Kindle, so
excuses.
Well, I can actually just look up the dude's name.
Yeah.
Have you called the therapist? Yeah, so it takes Bear. Oh, I just want to say it does take Bear a while to actually schedule the appointment with the therapist, because for one thing, the kid is like giving a lot of pushback against seeing the therapist because he thinks it's stupid and he doesn't need to see a therapist. But that's what all kids say.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Repeat all that because my connection was dropped.
Sorry. Um, So no, I'm sorry. While I'm looking up this, okay, what part did you hear last?
You're looking for his name.
Okay, so while I look up his name, I just want to say it does take Bear a while to schedule the appointment with the therapist because, for one thing, Ty is giving him a lot of pushback as he thinks seeing a therapist is unnecessary and ridiculous. Let me see here. Yeah, and also Bear is nervous too because he's not sure how things are going to go at the therapist. Yeah. But the thing is about this whole situation with the therapist is that Otter ends up being the one that just makes the final decision for them all. Because while Bear is dragging ass and while Ty is putting up a fit, Otter comes in and he's like, "Look, you guys don't like it. I don't like it either. But for the sake of this custody battle, we got to go do it." And hold on. Okay, I found it. His name. Okay, here we go. His name is Eddie.
Eddie.
So Eddie is the best way I could describe Eddie is that he's very eccentric for a therapist. He's kind of like a hippie. We're talking like his office has the door to his office has those hanging beads, those bead curtains.
Yeah.
He has hippie shit all over the place,
Love
and yeah, but he specializes in child psychology, and he often takes cases for the court, especially concerning custody. And he's very good at what he does, despite his appearance. Like in the next book, he so thoroughly reads Tyson that Tyson, like for once, is at a loss for words. Like Tyson is usually the one. Like let me tell you something. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but Tyson can be a little bit manipulative. He's very smart, but when he wants to avoid uncomfortable subjects, he does this thing where he kind of manipulates the flow of the conversation and has a habit of just changing topics. And it's very for him. It's easy to do to Bear because uh, Bear is easily distractible. But the thing is that Eddie does end up so when all right, let me back up. So Eddie is a therapist that they end up seeing, and when they finally see him, he does 3 separate sessions with the kid, Bear, and Otter. Otter was asked to be there because since he is part of the household that the kid is living in and that Bear lives in as well, he's a part of the family. They have to also make sure that Otter is going to be a positive influence on the kid. So in each of their sessions, Eddie has this way of completely disarming Bear and the others and getting them to open up about themselves, and he completely reads them. And it's hilarious because Bear is just like he's very like standoffish with Eddie, but Eddie like easily just like the way Eddie works Bear, like he just works him and just like gets him to like open up. And like when he finally opens up and spills the beans about like his past, like his resentments and traumas about his, especially surrounding his mom, Bear stops and he's like, holy shit, how'd you do that? But at the end of the day, Eddie informs them that he actually thinks that their sessions went very well. Of course, you guys have some things that I do recommend that you work on. I do recommend that you continue to see me just so we can keep not only help you address your own personal issues, but also to help build your give you put you in a better make it easier for you in court. Like you continue to keep seeing me. Of course, the court wants you to keep seeing me for now, but even after, it'll still look good in the eyes of the court, right? So they continue. So Eddie becomes a regular therapist and a regular character for these guys in the next few books. Beyond that, Erica, the attorney, eventually informs him that they finally have tracked down his mother. It had taken a few months. They had already had a few court dates by this point where Bear pleads his case, and of course, like I said, he has those meetings with with Georgia, the CPS agent, and things are starting to build up and look a lot better for them. And Erica informs Bear that after months of trying to track his mother down, they finally tracked her down, and she is in. Hold on. I know the name of the state. It's like right next to, because right now they are in Seaport, Oregon. That is where the story takes place. And from Oregon, turns out his mom was, when she dipped, she had these ideas of seeing the world and traveling all over the place and getting as far away as possible. And it turns out she didn't even go far. She was actually just 300. Yeah, she was actually just like about 400 miles away in Idaho.
Okay.
She was literally the next state over, like a 5-hour drive away.
Oh.
Yep. So they weren't able to track her down at first because she doesn't have a bank account of any kind, so she's not making any kind of deposits. She hasn't registered to vote in years. She hasn't really filed her taxes either. But eventually, they were able to track her down because she had opened an account with a bank somewhere in Idaho. And Erica, when she told him this, she also felt like she needed to inform him that when the courier served his mom with the papers for the custody of Tyson, the courier noticed that his mom had a little girl with her. So, as it turns out, and this is later confirmed, Julie McKenna had another kid.
Oh. So
not long after she dipped, she got pregnant again, and now she has a 2 to 3-year-old little girl.
Oh no.
Yep, and the thing is, Bear, like, he was upset, and he does tell Ty, and they both have the same feeling that, oh, this poor girl, she's gonna go through what we went through. And thing is, Bear does have a moment where he considers having, like, maybe trying to, like, do something about his sister. Yeah. But then again, he realizes, no, he can't, there's nothing he can do about her. Ty is his priority at the moment, and even if he did try to get his sister, he wouldn't have a case for it. So he takes it in stride. And while his mom has been served, they do have to wait for her response. Whether or not she will show up to the future court date that has been set, or if she's just going to go ahead and mail in her signed copy of her parental rights. Either way, they have to wait and see. Bear and Otter decide to have not long after this. Bear and Otter decide to have a date night with some friends. Otter wants to take Bear to a gay bar because Bear has never been to one before. While they're there, they do run into some familiar faces. Of course, they run into Isaiah, the guy that came on to Bear very strong at school and still does. And he meets Otter for the first time, and Otter actually knocks him down a peg because Otter is built.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned that in the last book, but with the last book, but Otter is built. All right. He's not some scrawny little twink. He is this beefy guy. Beefy, rugged guy. All right. And he's way taller than and he's also way taller than Bear too. So, and Isaiah is not much taller than Bear. He's practically the same body type. And so, of course, there's that moment. Where Otter basically tells Isaiah to fuck off. And Bear runs into one of Tyson's teacher, a guy named David Trent. Now, they did meet David earlier on in the book because when Ty was starting school again, they went ahead and met his new teacher, and it turns out his teacher is a guy named David Trent, who happens to be one of Otter's ex-boyfriends. And this causes a bit of jealousy for Bear because, for one thing, David is a very good-looking guy, and this makes Bear feel insecure. And he does feel some jealousy, and he starts wondering: is this guy really going to be teaching my brother? Should he even be a teacher? Is this even legal? Like, double cheeked up on a Wednesday? Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
So, but they also run into him there, to his teacher there at the gay bar, and he does have another moment of jealousy. But all of that, their little date night does end up coming to an end a lot sooner because when they went out to the bar, they left Ty in the care of Mrs. Paquin, and while they were gone, seems like Mrs. Paquin contacts them and tells them that the kid is having a panic attack. She actually sends him a picture of Tyson hiding in the bathtub. Like I said in the last book, Tyson developed a coping mechanism for his panic disorder, and that's by getting into a bathtub and writing out the panic attack.
Yeah.
So like using the bathtub kind of anchors him to helps him chill out. Because for him, his panic attacks feels like an earthquake to him. So, and like he learned as a young kid that when there's an earthquake, you hide in a bathtub.
Yeah.
So he uses the bathtub as his way of basically fighting for his life as he's freaking out. Poor kid. And the thing is that when they see that. When they realize that the kid's having a hard time, they immediately end their night and rush home. The kid feels bad because he didn't want to ruin their night, but Bear and Otter reassure him that no, you're our priority. All right. Well, like we're always going to be here for you. It doesn't matter what's going on. So which I'm like, aw, right?
Aw, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not long after this that Otter decides to have another little date night with Bear, and Bear. So this date night is going to happen on the stretch of beach that Bear and Otter consider their beach. So if you remember in the last book, that's where they had their first official date, which ended disastrously because of a fucking seagull.
Yeah.
And hang on. Sorry, hang on. Is that my cousin?
What?
Oh, it's James. Never mind. No, I just like I kept hearing a lot of like I heard that the door downstairs slam, and I heard something outside slam, and I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? Anyway, uh, so they plan a nice little romantic evening out on the beach. Bear actually makes sure that there's not going to be any freak weather this time, and he also makes sure to keep an eye out for a particular winged rat. Um, while he's waiting, uh, so he gets to the beach first and gets everything set up, and he's waiting for. I'm sorry, back up, back the fuck up. He was actually supposed to. Otter was actually supposed to be there before him to have the whole thing set up. Mm-hmm. And when Bear gets there, he notices that the beach is empty. Otter isn't there. At first, Bear doesn't think anything of it. He just thinks, okay, Otter's just running late. But then a couple hours pass and Otter never shows up. And Bear is getting understandably upset, and he's starting to wonder where Otter could be. He tries to call Otter, but he doesn't get a response. And now he's starting to get concerned and upset. He's not sure what's going on with Otter. But eventually, he does get a call. It is from I believe it is actually from the police. Hold on, let me double check this part. Future Devin, edit this out. I'm so sorry. Ah!
No, you're good. You're good.
Let me see. Let me see here. Da, da, da. Date night. Okay, there's the beach. Okay. There we go. All right, I'm sorry. So it wasn't actually an hour. Bear only was there for about 20 minutes, and 20 minutes past the time that they were supposed to meet up. No, hold on. I am sorry. Yeah, so I'm sorry. I can't remember how long he waited. And it doesn't really say how long he waited before he starts calling Otter, try to figure out where he is. All right, let's see. Yeah, so he waits for some time, and then he calls him, and he calls him like about 4 times. After the 4th time, which is like, let me see, hold on. See, first time, 5 minutes. So 5, 15. So I say about 25 minutes. So he waits about half an hour. So all right, we'll put it like this. So he gets to the beach, and he notices that Otter isn't there. At first, he thinks maybe Otter is running late because he was under the impression that Otter was going to have something set up, but nothing is there. And then while he's waiting, he has this idea that maybe Otter did this as a joke to get him out of the house for another type of surprise, right? And he's thinking, oh, haha, this is funny. But he decides to wait for a few minutes to see if he gets any kind of response from Otter. He doesn't see Otter at all. So he begins calling Otter. He calls him about like 4 times over the period of about 30 minutes. Each time he keeps getting Otter's voicemail. And after the last call, he's finally starting to get really nervous, and he's wondering where Otter is, because he has no idea what's going on. Now, after the 4th time he calls, his phone does ring, and he picks it up and he assumes it's Otter, but he's surprised to hear that it is the kid, and the kid sounds terrified. While Bear and Otter were supposed to have their little date on the beach, they of course left Kid in the care of Mrs. Paquin again. But when the kid calls Bear, he tells Bear that he is with Mrs. Paquin at the hospital. And as it turns out, Mrs. Paquin suffered a stroke.
Oh no.
And yeah, so at this point, Bear is becoming hysterical. Bear's becoming hysterical because he's not sure what's going on. He doesn't know where Bear is, and now Mrs. Paquin is in the hospital, and the kid is there with her. He asks him, "Is Otter with you?" And the kid tells him no. He doesn't know where Otter is. He came to the hospital with Mrs. Paquin in the ambulance. So still, now there's a crisis going on, and Bear has to get there to make sure the kid is okay, and as well as to see how Mrs. Paquin is doing, because she is family. And he ends up leaving the beach. But as he's making his way back to his car from the beach, he gets another phone call. But hoping that this is Bear. I'm sorry, hoping that this is Otter, he picks it up. But instead, it is actually actually a doctor from the same hospital that Mrs. Paquin was admitted. At first, Bear's confused, and he tells her he knows that Mrs. Paquin has had a stroke and that he's on his way because he's on his way to check. He's on his way at the moment. But the thing is, the doctor informs him that she's not calling about Mrs. Paquin. No. She's actually calling about Otter.
Uh-oh.
So...
Uh-oh. Yeah, that Lady Gaga meme.
Yep.
Oh no, is he hurt?
Yeah, so as it turns out, when Otter was on his way to the beach for their little date night, he was struck by a drunk driver.
Oh my God, don't tell me he's dead. I can't take that.
The doctor informs him that Otter is in critical condition.
Oh no.
And he's currently in a coma, bad shape. And now Bear has to deal with 2 things. The love of his life is in critical condition at the hospital, while his grandmotherly-like figure and his second motherly-like figure, Mrs. Paquin, is also in a coma because she suffered from a severe stroke.
Oh my god!
So he's basically free. He's losing his mind at this point. He's at this point. He's actually really numb, and let me see here. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, so Bear's freaking out, and then he races to the hospital. He gets there, and he makes sure to check on both Mrs. Paquin and Otter. Mrs. Paquin is hard to look at. For him, it's hard to see because while she's there in her hospital bed in the coma, she looks older and more frail than she's ever looked before. I mean, she's always been old. She's a woman in her, I believe, in her mid to late 70s, and but she was always so very full of life that she was so full of life it's easy to forget that she was an elderly woman. And but at one point, but I just want to say, but before he can actually before he actually gets in to see Mrs. Paquin and Otter, he runs into someone else at the hospital.
Oh god, who the fuck now?
His ex-girlfriend, Anna.
Oh my god.
She's fine.
Can this boy catch a break?
She's fine. She's just pregnant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's pregnant. So thing is that he runs into her when he gets into the hospital. He's freaking out, and she's also freaking out. She's kind of borderline hysteric, and this kind of grounds him a bit, and he talks to her, calms her down, and she at first she's confused. Because she didn't expect to see Bear there, and she was wondering how he knew. And he tells her, because Tyson told me. And she's like, well, how would Tyson know I was here? What's going on? And he tells her about both Otter and Mrs. Paquin. And he mentions that it's because of Otter and Mrs. Paquin that's why he's there. And she's still confused. She doesn't really get that those two are there for extreme medical reasons. And she begins to basically break down, and she spills the beans that she's pregnant with his best friend's child.
Oh, okay.
And at this point, his mind is basically shutting down because he's being overloaded with so many things. The love of his life is fighting for his life. His second mother is also fighting for her life, and now his ex-girlfriend / best friend is pregnant. And he's like, okay, Anna, listen, I love you, babe. I really do. You're like family. And I will be there for you. I will hold your hand. I will help you break the news to Creed. But I really need to get into this hospital and check on Otter and Mrs. Paquin, because they are both fighting for their lives here. And that's when she finally gets it that Otter. That's when she gets it that they're why he's there, and she helps him. She composes herself and helps him find the two of them. She helps him find Mrs. Paquin first because that's where the kid is. After making sure he's okay and seeing how much of a bad condition Mrs. Paquin is, he finally works up the courage to go look for Otter. And Otter is hard to look at. He is fucked up. He's basically almost in a full body cast. One side of his body is completely bruised up and in a cast. That's because when the drunk driver hit him, he was hit on his driver's side while he was crossing an intersection. The drunk driver ran the red light and struck Otter. It's also very tragic. Bear learns later that while the drunk driver was arrested, the drunk driver actually had his daughter in the car, and she unfortunately died in the crash. Nope.
Oh
she died.
no! Oh no!
Yeah, and while he sympathizes with the family, he's having a hard time feeling bad for the drunk driver because, well, his own family is dying because of him, because of this guy. So he's kind of like, not so much as like, fuck her, but fuck that guy.
Yeah. Damn.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, your daughter died. Well, fuck you, motherfucker. You're the reason she's dead in the first place. I mean, which is true. People, you make the decision to drink and drive. All right. You're going to suffer the consequences. All right.
Exactly.
And whatever happens, it is your own fucking fault. All right.
Period.
It is your own goddamn fault. So, they do spending several weeks in the ICU. Despite the condition he finds Otter in, he's informed that Otter will make a full recovery. It's just a matter of time for him to come out of his coma. And unfortunately, Mrs. Paquin passes away.
Oh no.
Yeah. Thing is that the stroke was too severe. We're talking like full neurological shutdown, or I don't know the full medical terms for it, but her brain was deprived of oxygen for too long. So even if she did survive and pull through, she would be a shell of who she was, and she wouldn't really be her. She ended up leaving everything to Bear and the kid, which wasn't much, but she made him the executor of her. What is it? What are they called? The executor of not the property, but
the
the person who takes care. I guess the person who takes care of basically the post-death stuff.
Oh, it takes care of the oh god, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're the ones that that the deceased entrusts with handling their
stuff.
Yeah, like
handling them, burying them, taking care of their stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
They're the
so
oh god, what is the term?
Yeah, we'll probably remember it later.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, once we're finished recording, it's gonna hit me. But she makes him the executor, and they do end up cremating her, and her ashes are spread in they are spread over their little secret beach. It was kind of funny when they actually do spread her ashes. They were gonna throw it into the ocean, but when they released the ashes into the ocean, a wind came back and blew all of her ashes back into their faces, which they had a good laugh over because Mrs. Paquin was always known for being very cheeky and very, a bit of a prankster. So they just knew she was gonna, she would get a kick out of this. Like, one final joke. Of course, they do. They don't actually end up doing that just yet, because they do takes their time to wait for spreading her ashes because they knew that Otter would want to be there, and since he was still in a coma at the time, they decided to wait. Thank God, Otter does come out of the coma, and after say like a few weeks, me see here. Let's say about I'd say about 6 weeks he was in a coma. So he was in he was in there for a good while. And while he was in the coma, he ended up having surgery on his leg. They had to put a titanium implant on his leg because of how busted up it was. So he's gonna have a bad knee for the rest of his life. But other than that, he has no other severe damage, no brain damage, nothing like that. Nothing that would be considered debilitating. While they were waiting for Otter to wake up, Bear discovers that Otter had a little box on him that he was clutching when he was brought into the ICU. Otter was actually conscious, and he refused to let go of this box. He was actually holding onto this box, and he was crying out for Bear. He was kind of a bit delirious. The coma that he was put in was actually a medical-induced coma, so that way he can properly recover. And at that point, he had to just come out of it on his own. But when the doctors give him Otter's belonging, Bear finds the box with a little poem on it, and inside the box were 2 rings.
Oh.
Yeah, so Otter was going to propose to Bear.
Aw.
Yeah, so Bear was especially pissed off because he's he was especially pissed off because right when he was gonna get everything he deserves, right? The man he loves more than anything else in the world, and his that pretty much gets taken away from him, and his second mom basically gets taken away from him. So it's just very unfair for him. He gets very angry and upset, but he has no other choice but to wait for Otter to come out of it on his own. While they wait for Otter to come out of his coma, Bear gets a visitor.
Oh.
Yep.
Who now? His mother?
Yes.
Oh my god, of course that bitch would come back.
So, yep. But she comes clean. The reason why she showed up was because after she was subpoenaed by the court for the custody case, she realizes that Bear is serious about fighting for Tyson, and decides that it's not worth the fight, and she showed up so that way she can give Bear her signed papers of the signed paperwork for her parental rights. So she completely signs over her rights to Bear. So now Bear is officially Tyson's legal guardian.
Yay!
But Bear is still very upset with her. All right, he doesn't really buy it. He accepts the papers, but he doesn't really buy it. Why now? Why did she suddenly decide against trying to take Tyson away from him? And she comes clean. So, as it turns out, Julie McKenna was approached by Otter's ex-boyfriend, Jonah. Now, I mentioned him in the last episode. Jonah was Otter's most recent relationship that he had before he got with Bear. But after he found out that Jonah cheated on him, and also after Otter came to the realization that he can't really get over Bear, he decided to end things with Jonah, and he came back to Seafair to fight for Bear.
Mm-hmm.
To reconnect with Bear. And the thing is that Jonah, as it turns out, is a lot more of a scumbag than we realized. He somehow Jonah was a very well-off man, And he'd managed since he knew about Bear, he did some digging and he found out about Bear and Otter's relationship, and he got really jealous about this. So he wanted to try to find a way to break the two of them up so he can get back together with Otter. And the thing about Jonah is he's that kind of person that doesn't take no for an answer. And he does more digging on Bear, and he manages to track down Bear's mom, Julie McKenna. And he approaches Julie with an offer that he would pay her a good sum of money to basically go back and force Bear to break up with Otter. And he even coaches her on using the whole like Christian religious bullshit, right? And that's why she did it. It's not because she actually wanted to take Tyson away or if she actually cared about Bear being gay. It was just because somebody paid her.
Who?
Yeah, Julie McKenna is just real piece of work. All right. That she'd be willing to like she screwed over her sons so many times. Oof, fuck that bitch. She tells him everything, and she agrees that she will never come back, and she will never bother Bear or Otter or the kid again. And she gives him the signed paperwork for for her legal rights, for her parental rights. While this was deeply upsetting for Bear, he doesn't tell Otter or the kid right away. Instead, he decides to just let matters slide. He gives the paperwork over to his attorney, and he is officially awarded full custody of kid. And after Otter comes out of his coma and gets through his rehabilitation, he finally properly proposes to Bear. And Bear says yes. Uh-huh. And this story pretty much comes to an end with them having having their wedding on that same stretch of beach. And it was a very sweet wedding, nice little beach wedding. And while everything was nice and like going really well, it's kind of ruined by a fucking seagull again. That same damn seagull.
Oh my god.
This time it takes a shit on Bear.
Oh no.
Yep. And we're not talking like a little like dollop of shit. We're talking like a massive like just bucket. Like completely ruins his suit. Bear goes off and tries to kill the bird. Everyone's laughing their ass off, but luckily for Bear and Otter, they manage to they say their vows, they say their I do's, they may kiss their husbands, and
oh no, oh my gosh, cute.
So gay. Love it. We live for that. But yeah, Who We Are ends with the two of them getting married, and there is a nice little scene. Let me see here. Let me go to the epilogue. So the book does end with a nice little little epilogue.
Uh-huh.
Hold on. Hang on. This time, hang on. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. So Otter and Bear finally tie the knot, and a few months later, Creed and his now fiancee Anna welcome their firstborn son. And let's see here. Yay, it's a boy. And they end up naming him Joseph John, or Joseph Jean, or JJ for short. And there is that. And I am so sorry, I'm just looking for the epilogue. So the book ends on an epilogue, and this time it is 6 years after their marriage, after they get married. And it is actually from... And they recover. It is 6 years later. This is actually from the perspective of the kid, Tyson.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, actually, I'm sorry, it's not from Tyson. Oh my god, I'm getting ahead of myself because all right, just spoiler alert. Next book is going to be from the perspective of Tyson, the kid.
Yeah.
This one is actually going to be the epilogue ends from the perspective of Otter. It is actually, yeah, so this is kind of a bit of a lead up into the next book. Kid is now 16, and he is actually graduating from high school a lot earlier because he skipped several grades because of how smart he is. And he's about to start school, and he got accepted into an Ivy League school on the East Coast. So instead of him going by himself, the whole family, Bear and Otter, decide to move across the country to be there with Otter. I'm sorry, with the kid. So, and they have to do that because since he's still a minor, they can't just let him go live on the dorm by himself. So they decide to pack up everything and move across the country for the kid to start school. And the thing is, the kid is now starting to deal with his... Yeah, and now the thing is, the kid is starting to deal with his own teenage angst because, as I mentioned earlier, he became best friends with a young boy named Dominic. Dominic is about 5 years older than the kid. Hold on. See, he's 16 now, and Dominic is 20. I think Dom is actually like 5 or 6 years older than the kid. And so while the kid is still 16 and just graduating high school, Dominic grows up and decides to become a cop. Something that the kid didn't really like because he was afraid for his friend's safety because, the life of a cop is hard and it's not always noble, I guess you could say, because of, all the controversy surrounding cops. But Dominic was inspired to become a cop because of his own personal past traumas and his experiences with police, especially how police basically were there for him after what happened to his parents. And he believes he can make a difference in a kid's life because he wants to try to prevent something like that from ever happening again.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that kid is now dealing with his own feelings towards his older police officer best friend. Hint, hint.
Oh my
god. But that is pretty much where this book ends. It does have a nice little lead up into the next book. Like I said, the next book is going to be... Well, I'm sorry. I don't know if you're going to cut out that earlier part where I mentioned that to you, Devin. But so the next book is going to be from the perspective of the kid. Book 3 of Bear, Otter, and the Kid Chronicles is titled The Art of Breathing. And
Ooh.
it's going to be talking about, now it's going to be centered on the kid and his own struggles, because now that he's getting older, as I've said before, the kid scoffs at therapy. He doesn't think he really needs it, but his panic disorder actually gets a lot worse for him. And there's some things that will happen in the next book that ends up making his life a lot harder for him. And not to spoil it too much, but the kid actually struggles with substance abuse, particularly narcotics, like controlled narcotics. We're not talking like hardcore drugs like cocaine or shit like that. It's more of like controlled substances like oxy and other forms of antidepressants and highly addictive painkillers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be dealing with that, and it's going to be, the story will be centered around his struggles with that, as well as him confronting his deeper feelings for his friend Dominic. And that is where we're going to end this episode. Yay!
Yay!
So thank you guys for listening again. I definitely recommend that everybody at least take a look at these books. Bear, Otter, and the Kid for me is such a refreshing read for me, because for one thing, being gay, I am often exposed to a lot of straight romance. You'll find that anywhere you go. And while everyone loves a good romance, but as a gay man, I would like to see. I was just craving more romance that I feel a connection to. You know what I mean? Like something that I relate to. So being a gay man, it doesn't really like. While it's, I do get my oohs and ahs out when I see a good love story. Like, I mean, if you watch Elemental, like that new Disney movie Elemental.
Love it.
Loved it, and I'm just like, "Aw, it's cute." But at the same time, I'm just like, God, it's so fucking straight.
Yeah.
And
it very much is.
And just like with Wolf's Song, Bear, Otter, and the Kid is just it's just so refreshing to see more of this. It's very real, and it does hit on these points and struggles that a lot of gay people have to deal with. Bigotry, trauma. I mean, people who are a part of the alphabet mafia, we have our own brand of trauma. All right. I mean, I'm not saying that our trauma is better than anybody else's. I'm just saying that we ourselves have our own unique type of it, because we have to deal with, a lot of us have to deal with rejection, either from our family or society as a whole. We have to deal with the abuse that we often suffer, and the like religious abuse. I want to just point that out. Religious abuse is a very real thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, especially if you come from a very hardcore religious household. A lot of us had to deal with that. A lot of us had to deal with repressed emotions and feelings. And this often causes wide myriad of personality disorders, because we're not able to actually live the way we're meant to live. All right.
Yeah.
We're not able to be who we are. And even now, like Devin and I, we are two gay men. Well, Devin's bisexual, but we are two gay men in San Antonio, Texas. And while San Antonio is more or less a very accepting city, and I don't know about you, Devin. I don't really see much bigotry here.
Not really, because it's kind of
pretty progressive here.
Yeah, it's pretty progressive here, more or less.
And also, like, I mean, being a highly Latin-centric city, like, we have a very large Latin community here. When it comes to like the subject of homosexuality, Latinos, it's a hit or miss with them. They either just don't talk about it, or they just really just
they
want
don't want to
nothing to do
know.
with you.
Yeah, they don't want to know. Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah.
It's very much like that. And although things are starting to change slowly but surely, but we have faced our own form of bigotry. All right. I know, like, before, I know I was bullied for being gay, even before I knew I was gay, and which says a lot because that means other people knew.
Girl, I am a white Irish blooded American fucking white man, and I'm gay as hell. And with the whole, because I want to state that because I agree with the whole Latin side of things on how they don't want to know. They don't want to know. Don't tell them, because not necessarily dealing with me, but dealing with friends I had. Because majority of my friends, over, I would say a good 90% of my friends, more or less, are Latin or Hispanic in some way, shape, or form, dealing with being the minority down here in San Antonio, because white people, I'm sorry, Caucasians are the minority here. But I've seen my fair share of that.
That's actually, I think, like, last time I checked, it's more of like, oh yeah, they are the minority.
There's more Hispanic. I think there's more Hispanic than there are like white people, or
there are
Caucasian people. But no, yeah, I mean, I, of course, like Jacob here, I've dealt with my own share of homophobia in some way, like picking on school, being in the closet. But I'm not gay, even though, sweetie, you're one step away from doing the twirl and a pose with sparkles. Like, girl, come on, babe, you're a fuckot.
It's your dream to cosplay as, dude. It's your dream to cosplay as Sailor Moon.
No, girl, it's my dream to fucking. Well, that's the bisexuality coming in me. Like, Bayonetta to step on me and be like, "Yes, ma'am," you know. But that's the bisexuality in me. But it's like just to go down the street and be like, see a girl and that is attractive, and just be like, instead be like, "Girl, you're pretty." I'm like, "Girl, let's go, girl, you're pretty." But like, "Girl, yes, mama, work." Like, gay. So it's not hide us. It's harder to hide than others. And then some people who think they are hiding it pretty well, obviously don't. I could tell, you know, my gaydar is 100% on point. Have not been wrong yet. Thank you.
Well, you know, that guy I'm seeing right now.
Oh,
I mean, we met. We were talking about that, and he was like, you know, if I didn't meet you on that, if I didn't meet you on that specific, you know, dating app, I would never have guessed that you were gay.
Girl, please.
No, he really said that. I'm not lying. He really said that.
Girl, people, y'all's gaydars must be messed up. I knew the second I saw my
You're just projecting. I'm
not projecting, babe. I was out when I met you. I wasn't projecting. I'm not projecting. Me and our other friend me and Brandy, old school Tea of the Gods, OG. We knew. We saw you and like, yeah, we're not dumb. Y'all's gaydar must be off. With love, of course.
Yeah, whatever.
But
yeah. Anyway, like I was saying, the Bear, Otter, and Kid Chronicles, they hit a lot of different subjects when it comes to the struggles of the LGBTQ community. And yeah, I think TJ Klune is doing a very good job, and I enjoy his books very much. So much so that I read, let me see, I read 13 of his books within a span of a month.
Yes. You've mentioned that a couple of times.
And I gave Devin nothing but shit for it because he was still reading one book.
You know what? Yeah, I was. And I will not apologize for it. And I'm still reading.
No, you.
And I'm still in the middle of reading one of his other books too, as of right now.
It's okay, Boo. Just stick to your audiobooks.
You know what? I'm reading one of his books right now. I just haven't done it recently because I've been moving.
I know.
But now I'm moved, so now I can't, I have no excuse. But
I know.
nonetheless,
I'm just giving you shit.
I know you're giving me shit. I know. What do you think is gonna happen? I give you shit all the time. It's only fair, yeah, you give me shit. But next week we're gonna be talking about the third book in the series.
Yes, we are. The Art of Breathing.
That's a weird name.
Well, it's called that because it's a reference to one of the ways the kid manages and regulates his panic disorder. Okay. It's actually something I do. You saw me do it. So yeah, so just not to like spill too much details, but I got a little too lit at a Halloween party that Devin and I were at a few weekends ago, and let's just say I got a little too lit, and it triggered a bad panic attack. I haven't had a panic attack like that in a long time. Like I was, it was bad because I like knew that if I felt like I just couldn't breathe and I couldn't, like, I thought I was gonna pass out. That's how bad it was. So thing is that whenever I get those things like that, even with anxiety, there's this special type of breathing technique that I use. It's not so much as like holding my breath. It's kind of like holding your breath, but like for some people, they take a deep breath and hold it, and like maybe like count to 10, and then they release it, and then take another deep breath, and it's supposed to help you control your heart rate and keep you from your panic attack from escalating further. So it's just like it's supposed to be. It's a technique that helps to get your body to relax and stop from freaking out and panicking in the way it does. And the Art of Breathing, the title is like a direct reference to that, because aside from using a bathtub to cope with his panic disorder, the kid, when he doesn't have access to one, he often uses a special breathing technique. And I use it, though I do things a little differently, because for me, instead of taking a deep breath in, I exhale and just hold it, and just like hold it there. Like I don't take a deep breath, but I exhale and hold that exhale for like as long as I can. And if I need to breathe, I'll take a quick deep breath, and like just breathe in and then breathe out, and then just hold it like that. Because for me, that doing it that way kind of like it causes me to relax a lot quicker. And if I had done it any other way, I probably would have like descended further into a panic attack in the middle of a costume party. But I came out of it pretty quick because I used that breathing technique. And while I'm not saying it's a technique everyone should use, if you don't have easy access to antidepressants and other medicines that help you with panic disorders, these little exercises are like are going to be your best friends. But anyway, thank you guys. We're going to go ahead and sign off. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and catch us next week for book 3 of Bear, Otter, and the Kids Chronicles, The Art of Breathing.
Yes. Until then, bye.
Bye.